Hello and welcome back to another episode of Doctor in a Bikini. This week is super special to me because I get to bring on my friend. Technically, she's one of my sponsors, but more importantly, she's just someone that I look up to and love, and everyone loves her. So if you don't already know from the title, I have Bree Collins Simpson, owner and CEO of Collections by Collins. Welcome, Bree.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm very honored to be on your podcast. So
Oh my
very
gosh.
excited.
It was so overdue. I mean, I feel like I've known you for years and we've talked about it, and so it was about time. We are overdue.
Yes. Well, it's not like you don't have a million things going on. So
Oh my gosh, okay. Speaking from the queen herself, small business, does it all, supports everybody, keeps track of everyone's shows. I don't know how you do that, but yeah, if you don't know already about Bree, Bree, can you give a little bit of the audience about who you are, where you're at, all that fun stuff?
yes, so I am the owner of Collections by Collins. I do competition suits for all of my lovely bodybuilding ladies. I started in 2012 after I got done with school. And my mom and I actually started my business, but I didn't start out as a competition. I started out as custom swimwear. So I didn't get into doing competition suits until a couple years later, which was a big transition. Um, and so that's how I kind of got started. And about me, I've lived out here in Arizona since 2006, I think. So
Wow.
I'm from Wyoming, from the cold.
Oh my gosh. I love it. How did you even, so that must have been really hard because when you started, I still feel like there's not a whole lot of places for people to turn as far as getting something customized and working with somebody one-on-one. How did you even go about crafting something so individualized?
It definitely had some really big struggles, especially switching over from swimwear to something that's so specific, having to have the right cut and the right fit and something that I didn't know anything about. So I do, and I still continue to this day, make my own patterns for the competition suits, and they continually change and evolve with the sport as you've seen in just like the last 5 years, how stuff is completely different than it used to be. So just rolling with the punches and making sure that I'm on top of all the latest trends and stuff that's going on.
Mhm. I love it. No, I feel like you are so on top of it. And we got a lot of listener questions between, our sponsored ladies group, the Facebook pages that I submitted to. I think that there are a lot of people that are concerned or really invested in the quality of their suit and knowing where to turn and what questions to ask. So I feel like today is gonna be really helpful because I know personally when I first had my suit, I didn't know you yet, and it was a little overwhelming because I'm trying to look online what these suits look like. There's all these patterns, and I'm definitely not a connoisseur in picking suits on my own. So I love that they get to hear from you, someone who has had a lot of time in the game as a competitor and as a business owner. Because you're also very honest about this color, maybe I like this one, or this shines like this on stage, or you might notice because of this, so I just want everyone listening to know Bree is such a good resource, even if you don't live in Arizona, to go consult with. So yeah, I'm so pumped if you can't tell for today's episode because the people need to know.
Well, I will do my best to inform everyone as much as I possibly can because there is just so much about suit making that people just don't know. I mean, what crystals do you use? What fabrics do you use? What fabrics are going to last? What if you have metallic versus hologram? You know what I mean? No one, I know all these things, but you guys don't. So I always try to help everyone as much as I can, not only with the material, but with the colors. Like what's going to look good on you? Is this stone going to look good? What color does this stone shine on stage? It's a lot.
Well, while you're saying that, because I know that was one of the questions, first off, what is metallic versus holographic, and how do you go about picking certain colors for someone?
So metallic fabric versus hologram. So your hologram is going to have like a solid kind of foil on top that's not going to last. Your metallic's going to have the little bit of shimmer on it. You're going to have your matrix dot, your shattered glass, so on and so forth. There's a whole line of those. And with the hologram, it's actually going to stretch and crack, and it's not going to last as long as the other one.
Gotcha. See, all these things, I'm like, how on earth? It's so impressive that you just figured this out. Like, was this through trial and error or?
Yes, 100%. Because you'll make suits and be like, this is so pretty. And then it gets worn. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, that fabric did not last at all. What, why? So you don't use this anymore, but you use this, and this is going to last. This is what looks good on stage. Because I really am about quality and longevity of the suits
Mm-hmm.
because they're expensive. They're expensive to make and they're expensive all the way around. And you want to keep them and they want to be perfect.
Yeah, you said it was a nickel per gem. Is that right? The
Just
other
about,
day?
yeah.
Just so people understand the quality, because I know that's one thing people, say about suits is, oh, they're so expensive. When you said that it was a nickel per gem, I about pooped myself. I was like, oh my
Yeah.
God, no wonder they're so expensive.
Well, yeah, and I buy in bulk. It's not like, I'm buying like a little bag, like, oh, here you go. No, like buying in bulk, and they're still that expensive. You can get cheaper stones, but they're not going to be that quality.
Right. Yeah. No, and I love that you mentioned that because I think that's something a lot of people are concerned about is what is a reasonable price point to expect for a rental versus a custom. So would you mind providing insight on that too while we're on that topic?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I try to keep it reasonable for both rentals and custom suits. So rentals are going to run $200 to $300 for 2 weeks. And so that's pretty much just covering the cost of making the suit.
Hmm.
Because if your rhinestones are going to cost you $200 just to put on there,
Hmm.
you're just getting by with that. And then as far as custom, you have to add in the hours. So it's going to take me anywhere between 12 to 16 hours just to make your one suit.
Hmm. Yeah, I think I'm going to echo what you said, not because I'm biased, but I think you are very fair with your suits because you put in so much time and effort and love into these suits, and that's not even part of your price point. Like you are very much like, you bring friends wedding dress shopping. You are very much like that whenever people go to your house, and I'll have to ask you about your studio so everyone can hear about that too. But it's a whole experience, and that's not even part of the price point. And as a competitor that's been in the game now 4 years, 5 years, 4 years. I know lots of different people that have gone the online route because there's these Facebook pages that people say they got one on Etsy and it's been hit or miss, or it was the wrong fit, it wasn't as advertised, or so I think it's such a safe investment for all of the hard work to see someone like you where you're going to say, nope, this is what the stone will look like. This is what looks best with your skin tone. And you know what you're getting. So I feel
Yeah.
like it is so, so fair, your price point.
Well, I do try to keep it that way because I know that people love this sport and it's very expensive. So you're already going to break the bank trying to compete with all the other things, especially as women competitors with posing coaches and hair, tan, makeup, that whole thing. I really try to be fair.
Yeah. Well, one thing I we kind of talked about for a second, and I want to make sure not to go over it because I think I had 4 people submit it. Let's go into colors really quick. So, trending colors, colors for certain hair types. I just want to hear your thoughts, your opinion, and your knowledge on the whole color topic.
So when it comes to color, you need to obviously take into account your skin tone and your hair. Are you going to keep your hair the same color now versus show? If you're someone who loves to have blonde hair one day and red hair the next, then we need to know that because if you're going to do let's just say you're going to do a green suit and you all of a sudden decide to switch over your hair color and now it doesn't look as good. So that's one thing I always ask people that come in, like, what are your hair is gonna look like? And then if it looks good on the day you come in with no tan, hair makeup, it's only gonna look better on show day. As far as trending colors, I think we all know that red has been very trendy for the last couple of years.
Mhm.
Um, but everyone always says everyone wears blue. Well, blue looks good on mostly everybody, and it also looks really good on stage. So who cares if everybody wears blue as long as you look good in blue?
Mhm.
Um, but you want to stick to your gemstone colors, which is going to be really safe. Your reds, your royal blues, your greens, your purples. And if you're going to go outside of the box, you need to make sure that you have your contrast and it is going to stand out on stage and it's not going to make you look washed out or be too outside the box that it's distracting.
Mm. Yeah, that's a good opinion. Yeah. What about I know I see a lot of girls on Facebook too asking about black suits, and some people have a huge opinion about do not do a black, and some people are like, yes, girl, do the black. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
I like black suits. I love black bases with fun stones on top and the contrast that it brings. If you have a black base suit and you put stones on it, they're gonna pop. And
Hmm.
I don't know. I know that a lot of people are biased. I do like black suits. I think they look good on stage and I think people can pull them off. And I think that it should be not taboo anymore to wear black suits. I think they're beautiful and I always promote it as long as it looks good on the person. So I
Hmm.
would never put a suit on someone, and I was like, yeah, if it doesn't look good, I'm going to tell you. So,
Hmm.
but I do like black suits. I think they're awesome. And I would love to see more black suits on stage.
I agree. I feel like and I know of plenty of people personally that have had a black suit, both brunette and blonde,
Mhm.
that they have rocked it and they looked so
Yeah,
good.
they
So it
do.
makes me sad when people are like, no, nobody pulls off black. I'm like, wrongo. My
Yeah.
friends have pulled off black. They looked great.
I love a black suit. Like some of my favorite combos are a black base with a beautiful off the wall stone that has a shimmer on it or something like that. Cause it really stands out and it looks good. So I like to push black when it looks good on people. So
Mhm.
yes.
Totally agree. Is there any trends that you don't super love?
I don't know if I should say this out loud, but I don't love the velvet trend. I was around the last time we did velvet, and like one pieces and stuff like that. So I'm not a huge fan of the velvet trend, but I actually do have some velvet fabric that I picked up that I'm going to be doing some cost-effective suits out of the velvet. So it's blue and red, and it does have hologram dots on it and it looks really pretty. It looks like rhinestones. So I'm gonna be promoting that for 2025.
Ooh, sneak peek. We heard it here
I
first.
know, but I will, I know.
It's
I do
okay.
like the velvet, but I was there for the last trend, so it's hard for me to hop on it. It's like when I see people wearing like the clothes I wore in middle school, I'm like, I already wore that.
I know. I saw a TikTok the other day of, oh, I got this vintage Juicy Couture suit. And I was like, no.
No.
Like, I don't care if it's back. I am not gonna have Juicy on my butt. You cannot
Yeah, I
pay me.
know. I saw the Jinko ad the other day, like the skater wide leg jeans, and like my mom would tell me, like, those are too expensive. And I'm like, they were so ugly. They were like barrels. And I see them coming back, and I'm like, why? Why do this to ourselves? We learned.
Honestly, I feel like a funny segue here, but I feel like the whole trend concept, that's a good reason. Like if someone's going to invest in buying a suit, because anyone who knows me and has followed me, I have both created and bought a suit from you, and I have rented a bunch of suits. Love both. They have all fit me perfectly. And I will say I will never regret buying and creating like a classic suit, the red, because it's not a trendy one, but it's something that I know that as I have it, it will last time because
Yeah,
it's a classic suit that I made with you. And it's just sentimental. But so, if people are looking for the trendy one, if they're gonna invest in their money, maybe do something that they know they're gonna love because they love it and
yeah,
it's a classic suit.
yeah. No, I agree. And yeah, the trends are hard because it's a lot of money to spend on something that might not be cool in a year.
Hmm. Yeah. No, I
Or is
agree.
that fabric going to last?
Mhm.
What's that going to wash out like? As the tan going to
Yeah.
come out of it? Is it going to stain?
Well, it's funny you say the washout too, because that was a question we got as far as suit care and washing suits. And Bree, I'm still beating myself up because everyone listening, I got a rental and Bree gave me one rule, and apparently prep brain me ignored the rule, and I still lose sleep about it at night. Do not use what is that? The sticky.
Bikini bite.
Yes. Oh my God, I feel so bad. One of her suits has bikini bite because of me on it, and I still lie awake at night and think about it. I feel so bad. So that's a good tip as far as suit care for
You
people.
know, Bikini Bite does come out of some fabrics, but like the suit, the rental that you have rented, the dark blue pretty one, I think its name is Ocean's Deep. It's a matte swimsuit fabric. So it doesn't have the metallic on it. Like it's just a good four-way stretch poly. And it didn't come out. It doesn't show on the outside at all, but on
Mhm.
the inside, it's there and you're in trouble, but I forgive you.
No, I still, but like, I need the people pleaser me needs you to know that I still feel so bad about it. So I was like, I should just offer to buy the suit because I like, anyways, this isn't about me. But
I mean,
as
that suit
far,
did look really good on you, and you.
thank you. We still might talk about me buying it from you because I do love that. It's my love child. Yeah. What are some pro tips everyone needs to know as far as suit care, cleaning their suits?
I would say try to clean your suit as soon as you can after your competition to get that tan out and try to bring it back to life. If you can avoid bikini bite, because it is going to ruin your suit. Um, if you do have like a lighter pastel suit, try to wash it a couple times. And those stains they might stay. Like sometimes they're just not going to come out. And I have noticed that with when I use like some of the matte fabric that doesn't have, the sparkle on top, that stain or tends to stain a little bit more than the regular competition suit fabric that I have used for years. Um, if you do notice that you're having some stains on the inside of your connectors and you don't understand why, you can use an alcohol wipe to get that brown off of the inside of those connectors if they start to tarnish.
Mm,
But usually the top of the connectors, they're perfectly fine with the rhinestones in them. Yeah, just wash immediately. Don't soak it, and
uh,
not in too hot of water, not in too cold. Um, the first time you wash it, if you do have like too hot of water, you will see some of that dye come out of the fabric as well, like with a red or a blue suit or whatever the case is. So to keep that color vibrant, don't make your water too hot.
that's a good tip, actually. I don't think I
Yeah.
would have even thought about that.
Yeah. Because it
I could,
will. I mean, that dye will start to come out and then that color that you wanted is going to start to fade.
that's a pro tip.
Yeah.
See, this is why. This is why you have Bree in your corner because otherwise you're going to be there with your hot water and you're going to be scrubbing away and use a bikini bite on the wrong fabrics.
Usually, for the most part, unless it's a really light colored suit, the bikini bite's not going to show through on the other side, but it is going to make it very stiff and crusty um, on the inside of the suit, which, necessarily isn't ruining it, but for a long haul, it's not good for it.
Gotcha. I kind of want to go back because I know we do have some more questions that I want to go over, but I'm staring at the beautiful bikinis behind you in your I don't even know what to call it. I want to say like your woman cave, but it's I
The
guess
store studio situation.
yeah. Can you can you walk everyone through because I really want to emphasize you and what makes you different, your business, the whole experience. So say if someone was local to Arizona versus if they weren't, can you walk us through that whole experience?
Yes. So you're more than welcome to make an in-person appointment to come here and look at the suits that I have in the rental inventory, or you can build a custom suit from scratch, fabric, rhinestones, pattern, the whole thing. Um, and it's just a really fun experience to be able to touch the materials and see what goes together. I do offer Skype interviews as not interviews, but appointments as well for people that are out of state. But I have a bunch of out of state clients that fly in here to see me. So
Hmm.
you can come in, try everything on. We can go over the cuts, the fits. If you need something custom to cover up a scar, or you want it a little bit wider here or there, like I do customize the suits to you when you come in. And I encourage friends and family to come and see and help because it's like a fun experience, like you had mentioned previously, like wedding dress shopping. That's exactly what it is. Like this is a big deal. And like when you have the suit on, like this is the one.
Hmm. Yeah, 100%. I think too, I'm so glad you mentioned the customization because even with the rentals, I feel like you did such a good job because I had never rented a suit before seeing you. And I wasn't sure what to expect as far as how are we going to get this to tailor my body.
Mhm.
And I mean, for those listening, in case they have those questions, Bree literally made adjustments to my body. And I just, because I'm not a person who makes suits, I wouldn't have even realized that you could make those adjustments. But you were so helpful in, hey, let's maybe create this bottom looks really good with you. I feel like you could pull off this type of fit. Because what is it? The U cut versus the V wellness cut that some
Yes.
bikini
So
athletes do.
everybody seems to be moving more towards the V cut
Hmm.
because we had like the slight U was what bikini had been doing for years. Um, but I see going back to trends, everybody's moving towards the V cut for the most part. And as far as the rentals go, being able to customize them to people's bodies when they come in, we do try on. I can't do anything about the tops. The tops are already sewn, and that's the size of what it's going to be. However, I can move the straps away from the connector to widen it a little bit if your bust is wider, or if you're smaller chest, we can move the cups in as close as we can, as far as that goes. I can't change the size, but we
Right.
can alter it to make it fit better and make it look like it was custom made to you. If there's a suit that doesn't fit and it's not going to fit, I would never put someone in it because that's just not what I don't want someone to go on stage and like, oh, that suit looks terrible. That suit doesn't fit. That's not the point of the rentals. It's to be able to come in, pick something off the rack, save some money. That's a beautiful suit, fully encrusted, make it look like it was cut and made custom for them. And that's nice if you're here in Arizona because you can come to me even on peak week and you can get your bottoms adjusted to come down if your connectors are sliding down or the back of the suit, the fabric is kind of coming up a little bit and it's not staying up. You can come and see me and I can take it in to make it tighter to where it is fitting you where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that because I don't think people say if someone who has never competed before is listening, that can be scary as far as
Mhm.
you don't know what your body's going to do. And even from year to year, sometimes, okay, I'm randomly a lot more lean this year, or maybe my frame is different. So having you even down to the end to say, hey, no problem, come in, we'll make some adjustments, has saved us the world as far as stress goes.
Absolutely. And that's like, I'm not competing, you guys are. So I always just say, like, I'm available if you need me, as long as I am available. If you text me like 2 hours before your show, I probably can't help you. But I try to check in with people and be like, hey, if your suit is going to be loose, let me know by Tuesday or Wednesday on peak week. We'll get you in and we'll tighten it up. Come in, see me. And that goes for if there's a back clasp on the rentals as well. If it's starting to come down like off your back and you're showing some under boob, well, that's not going to do you any good. So we need to tighten that back strap as well.
Yeah. And on fit too, we got a couple questions as far as some people are concerned. For one, how many weeks out should they look into customizing a suit or renting a suit?
I tell people that I don't want to see them before 12 weeks.
Okay.
Let's just take, for example, like you have someone who, first time competitor who's really excited to come in and they're like, I'm doing a show, in 6 months. I want to get my suit now. All right. Well, I'm sure I've seen a lot of people come in and ask, like, well, what about my boobs? What my boobs are going to be gone? Well, you don't understand. Like, they're gone. They're like on vacation. See you later. Like, you could have a natural girl who has like a D cup. She could go down to a B, and let's say we made her a large top 6 months before her show, and all of a sudden she can't fill it out. We can't even put enough padding in it to make it look like it fits anymore. Like, you don't want to come in and rush. If you're a seasoned competitor and your body's similar, like it's going to stay close to where it is, you can come in a little bit early, but still 12 weeks is plenty of time. I mean, you're not even cutting yet,
Hmm.
for your show. You're in prep, but you're not cutting.
Right. Yeah,
So,
that's a good tip.
and yeah, that's when I would suggest like starting to think about it. But I do tell people 8 weeks is perfect for rentals, especially. Because you're going
Okay.
to come in and you're going to pick your suit, you reserve it, and then you come back a week before peak week, and then I size it to you then, and then you take it with you. So you're close to your show weight, show look.
Mhm. Gotcha. Yeah, see, these are the hard numbers that we need to know because there's so much. It's like Dr. Google, but bikini edition. when should I look for my suit? And then you see everything online.
Well, you see everything. I even see, like, I follow a bunch of suit makers that tell people, like, get in early. It's going to be like a 16-week wait. And I'm like, damn, like, what are you going to do for alterations?
Hmm.
Especially for figure. Like, that's a whole nother category in itself. It's very difficult to get suits to fit correctly.
Yeah, and that's one thing too. Someone asked me is if you were exclusive to one division, but I think you make suits for every single division as far as
I
I know.
do all women's division. I stopped doing men's in 2020 when I left my store, but I do all women's divisions in yes, and all rentals in all women's divisions.
Love that. What about for the competitors that, because I got this a couple times too in the comments, is for competitors that are nervous about loose skin or the shape of their waist, do you have any tips on some of those aesthetic concerns that some people express?
I mean, we're all humans. We're all going to have little things and little concerns. I would say, as far as a loose skin, there's really not too much you can do about it. You can try to tape it down into your suit if possibly, but if you're really concerned about it, you would need to come in and probably get a custom suit and see if we needed to add, a little bit more to the top of the front of the suit so that you could feel more comfortable. Like for C-section scars, if you lose a whole bunch of weight and you've got that little scar, like, and your skin isn't, that's just not going to go away. You can customize the front of the bottoms to come up about 3/4 of an inch or however much to cover that up, to put that in there. If you have a boxy waist and you're worried and you want to make your waist look, you know, your torso look longer and your waist look tinier, then we need to focus on the cut of the front. That's why the V front is becoming so popular, because it's making everybody's torso look longer and their waist look thinner. The higher you wear your connectors, for the most part, on your hip, is going to make your waist look smaller. And that comes down to posing. Like, there's only so much a suit maker can do. We're not miracle workers, even though sometimes I think I am, but I'm not.
No, I'm glad you said that about the illusion of what you can do. I feel like I said that word illusion. Illusion of making the waist look longer because I agree. I mean, that's one reason why we switched to the wellness type bottom for me, not necessarily because it's trendy, but it was actually a significant difference in how my torso looked. And
Yeah.
I know
And
some
it
people,
helps a lot of people. Like, I love it. And I switched, I would say, all of my rentals for bikini and obviously wellness, but for bikini, I've been switching over to the V fronts because everybody wants it. And it looks really good on the majority of people.
would you say there's any, so I know for some people that maybe they have the blocky waist because I got that comment too. Is that also typically a bottom that seems to look good? I know you can't see the people that are asking, but
It would depend on person to person because everybody's built different. If you're pretty boxy, I would probably suggest going a smaller connector route, like thinner,
hmm.
versus something that's thick, because that's going to make you look shorter and more boxy if you go with like a wider connector.
Oh, that's a good point too, because I know some people really like to bling out their connectors and they like a whole lot going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Unless you're super tall and hippie, like, you're probably not going to pull off those really big connectors.
Gotcha. That was gonna be my next question. Yeah, is it if the opposite, if someone was taller, if there's certain things that you notice look good on taller frames?
Yeah. If you have a taller, like, if you're a taller, bigger framed person, then you can definitely pull off a little bit more of the wider connectors. I don't carry a lot of wide connectors just because I don't love them, and I don't think they look great on the majority of my clients. I have a couple that are a little bit wider, but for the most part, I do try to keep them pretty thin and keep it to where if they get a custom suit from me and they go pro, they don't have this. Let's just go back in the day when we had swag connectors, where you had the 3 row of diamonds that went across on the connector, and then you had the swags that went down, and they went all the way up to 5. And I did that for my second show, and I, like, look back at those photos and I'm like, why would I pick that connector? It's like making me look so terrible. Like,
Oh, do we think that trend will come back?
I'm not. I actually I sold all those connectors in a garage sale like
Oh my
4 years
God.
ago. I was like, I am never using these. These are out of here.
Decided.
I don't know. They're not going to come back. They don't look good. Like I just, if
Mm.
especially for NPC, like that's not what the NPC judges are looking for, and they're distracting.
Mhm. As far as that, and I'm glad you said that too, as far as what the judges are looking for, we got a couple questions as far as, proper coverage, the pro cut bottom. Do you have any comments on that topic?
It's if you're talking about like your natural federations, they are still kind of like, we don't want to see the thongs or the pro cuts. They don't, but you look at the pros and what they're wearing, and you can't, they're pretty small. And the suits have been getting smaller and smaller for as long as I've been making suits. And I I don't see the pro cut going anywhere. And I like the pro cuts because you work so hard on your glutes and all of that. So that's what the judges are looking at. And if you're covering it up, do I think we should be wearing G strings on stage? Probably not. But again, you're working really hard on your body. We're going to show it off, and you're going to have the right cut that goes over your glutes in the sweetheart cut to show off your hard work. So,
Well, and I think too, as far as being competitive, there's a point where if their goals are beyond just, I want to show up on stage, maybe if they are trying towards certain placings or, getting their pro card, then for those people listening, I mean, it can actually hinder you because if there is, quote, too much fabric, which
mhm.
believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe at least in the NPC level, pro cut is the cut for a bikini.
Yes,
And
100%. Yeah.
if you have more than that and it takes away from some of the glute fullness and roundness, then that
Hmm.
could absolutely cost you a placing because they
Yes.
only see what they can see on
Yeah.
stage.
Yes. And I mean, I don't know exactly like where it's headed, but it seems like the where it's been going is it's just getting smaller. So
Mhm.
I'm
And
not
I know.
opposed to it at all. I think it looks really nice. Because you're showing off again, you're showing off what you've worked so hard for.
Mhm. Well, I've had to get away from the, I guess, modest mentality if I'm looking back to pre-competing Shannon, because
Hmm.
now, I mean, most of my social media, between it being my brand for the podcast and my sport and what I do outside of work, I mean, I've gotten really comfortable posting myself in a bikini.
Yeah.
And I have to remind myself that, I need to continue to support the thought of the sport is not sexualized. So if people turn it into that, that's on them. But for me, I believe, like you said, this is something we work hard for. It's a serious sport. It's
Hmm.
not meant to be like a sexy thing. So I kind of had to get out of that headspace of
Yeah.
feeling guilty or nervous about posting it because like, this is what it is, and you can either respect it or you can click and move
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. It's not a sexualized sport. And I think when you call it a bikini contest, then people automatically think maybe it is going to be sexualized, but it's bodybuilding. It's not, it's a bodybuilding competition, and you're showing off your body in a non-sexual way, 100%. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
it gets tough. Like I get patients that find me online and they, a lot of them can be male patients. I mean, that's something like obviously everyone to their discretion, like what's on the internet is on the internet. And that is
Hmm.
a thought in my head that I do get a little nervous about, but I think I don't know, just when you're talking about the size of the bottoms, I feel like that's something to be said when they're coming to your office and being vulnerable and looking for a bikini and they know what to expect with these sizes and the mentality to have because it's not something that they should shy away from. It's meant to be an empowering environment,
Yeah.
choosing a student and working with you.
Yeah. And in the natural federations, like I said, they're a little bit maybe more of a stickler. Some of them can be, but I have a lot of competitors that switch over from like OCB to NPC. So their cuts are going to be when they come to me, I do their cuts the same.
Mhm.
And, it's more on the pro cut, smaller side versus more coverage.
Right. And the coverage part, I know a lot of people had, and I'm trying not to be redundant, but I'm looking through the questions here that we got. And there were a lot of questions as far as I'm just going to read it. My first comp suit was too wide at the front of the crotch, so I had to tuck it under to avoid weird bunching. How can I ensure that all parts of the suit fit correctly, whether it's with a rental or something I've already purchased? And obviously, this person didn't purchase from you, but they're asking a very general question of that
So
situation.
as suit makers, like I make my own patterns and I've done trial and error throughout the years. I mean, I made some hideous, ugly, non-fitting suits that, I don't want to take credit for back in the day, but you know what? I did it and I learned from it and I moved forward. So with having too much fabric in the front, you have to realize we're making like just a little bit off can do that bunching. So just think half an inch could make it to where it's bunching or curling in the front. So you just have to, I guess, know the experience of the suit maker. And a suit maker should be able to honor if they mess up their suit to fix it to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Because and everybody's body's different. Maybe the girl that asked this question, I don't know who it was, is teeny tiny and she ordered a suit that she thought just regular coverage was going to work for her, but she ended up having a really small frame and there's too much fabric in the front because she's such a petite person.
Hmm.
So every body and every body is different.
Yeah. No, and that's so hard because like you said, it's tough to provide a solution to someone on the internet, but I think you answered it in such a good way to where there I think if that's not our job, making suits, it can be hard for us to understand all the elements that go into selecting the right suit, which
Yeah,
again, is
it
why
it
it's
is.
so
It is. It's hard. And like I've made some suits where I have to remake the bottoms because there is too much coverage on the front for someone who is too small. Or like, for example, I have some people that come in that they're gonna have to end up getting a custom suit versus a rental, and that's not what they wanted to do, but it just doesn't work out.
yeah. There were also a couple questions too, and this will be the last fit question because I think you've done such an awesome job of providing so many people advice blindly. The other common question I got a bunch about was our boobs. So we already talked a little bit about how you adjust the spacing. Again, wrong terminology because I'm not the professional here. With if they have a smaller bust or larger bust, what are things that can be done for our, itty bitty titty committee people or large and in charge? Like what are some things that you can do to help either situation?
So I do say this to people that come in, and I get it a lot. I just say like 80% of my clients come in and like, oh, my boobs are gone, or I'm this. I'm like, I'm not a plastic surgeon, but I will do my best. So natural boob loss is going to be, it happens to everybody. Um, so we just need to make sure that we have enough coverage so that natural skin isn't spilling out both sides. That's why when you come in and we not come in too early, because if you lose all your boobs and you pick the wrong size,
Mhm.
double padding is something that can be done as well. The or the first padding I use is going to be a push-up pad that I cut to size the inside of the cup. So if you do have a natural boob, it has a shelf. So you can put your boob on there and give it a little bit of a lift, naturally cleavage. If you're really wanting a cleavage look, we'll bring the suit in close to the connector because then your breasts have nowhere really to go. They're like up and close. Um, so for itty bitty titty committee, I definitely depends on what they're looking for. If they really want to go for the gusto, the double padding is something that I can do, but the fabric has nowhere to go. So when you're looking at suits on stage or on Instagram and you see someone, you see that lining on the inside when they're doing their side pose, that's just inevitable. If you're adding a boob to it, you're gonna see that padding in there. And it's just something that happens.
What about this wasn't a question, but just the topic of like really going for the gusto and like shoving it all up there. How do those people provide nip slips on stage?
So usually what I suggest in that situation is bringing it closer, the two cups as close to the connector as possible. Because when you keep moving it, the cups away and you're giving yourself more gap, that's when you're going to see the nip slips.
Because that does happen.
It does. I see a lot of nipples on Instagram and I'm like, no, put those away.
Photoshop something.
I know. I
Oh my
know.
gosh. What are some of the things looking back on, because you kind of joked about, you've had some mess ups along the way, some suits you're not proud of. What are some struggles that you've had as far as being a business owner, a previous competitor? I'm sure it's a very big question, but
I would say switching over from swimwear to competition wear, not knowing anything. That was definitely like a really difficult time finding the patterns, and there wasn't a lot of resources when I started too. Like now, like I've seen that some suit companies are doing classes. Like you can go on YouTube and see how to make a suit. Yeah, that did not exist when I started. Like I had to figure out like what glue to use on my own, where to get the crystals, what connectors, like, and there's a lot of options out there, not scammy stuff, but stuff that's just not good. It's not going to work. Um, so that was a really big struggle for me with that. And I would say try not to let it like be personal, especially when I have been in the Arizona bodybuilding scene for quite a while. And sometimes it's like, well, why don't you use me, or why don't you trust me to use your suits? Like you would let me alter your suit for you at one point, but now I'm not good enough to make you a suit. So
mm,
that I have to remember that it's business, it's not personal. Um, and COVID was a big part of my business struggle as well, because I left my store that I was there for 7 years. And I
wow.
moved into my previous home and converted our front room into my store. So, and that was hard because I felt like, am I professional enough still, not having a commercial space to provide good service still to my clients? So, but obviously it worked out and for the better. Everything happens for a reason.
Absolutely. No, there's two things you said there that I love so much, and it gives me some great personal advice too. Uh, Not taking it personal, and also almost, not that you said this, but almost the imposter syndrome of, well, this isn't yet what I want it to be, and I'm
Hmm.
struggling with that. And I think that's something everyone listening can take away, because I know for me, I'm such an emotional person that it is very hard when we invest our time and our effort into something that we love and care about to
Hmm.
not take it personally. If every single person in this world isn't obsessed with it and loves it and vouches for it, that can be really hard to not measure your success up to other people's approval.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is. But you just have to show up and do your best every day. I mean, that's all you can do is you're the only one that can live your life. So just show up every day and just live it.
I love that. Yeah, and I think you do such a good job too, keeping it real and relatable. And we were talking about this at the sponsored athlete party, which we got to get into too in a
That was
second.
so fun.
Uh, But you made me feel so good when I left, because I see you and I just think, wow, here is this boss person that's getting it all done. She's also a good person and human. And she, just like me at the end of the day, sometimes feels like, oh, there's stuff that I didn't get done, but that's okay. And I love bringing people on like yourself. That way others can get that same experience of, hey, it's all right if I didn't post 7 days a week on my social media. It's okay if I, needed a rest break. And hearing that from people like you, it's so reassuring, because here you are, like you said, doing it, living your life. And I don't know, I feel like that's a message we all need to hear sometimes, is it's okay if we don't get all of the things done.
There's no way you can get everything done. Like it's absolutely impossible. Like it's just not. You just need to make a list and prioritize what on that day needs to get done. Because especially for small business owners, like I run my website, I do all the social media, which I try pretty hard, but it could be better. And then my job is so labor forward. Like I don't just answer emails all day. Like I have to physically pay attention to cutting, serging, sewing, and then rhinestoning. Like everything has to be perfect. So it's just there's not enough hours in the day to get everything done. And it's okay. I mean, everything will get done eventually.
Which, after that suit making party, my neck does not give you enough kudos. I was like, how does she do this every single day? Like, this is driving me insane. And all of us were about ready to throw our rhinestones to the side, like, this looks
They
terrible.
turned out good. And also, if Kristen does listen to this, I'm gonna make that green suit and she's gonna be like, this actually looks good. Kristen killed it. It was pretty.
Can't wait to see it. Her suit did look really
It
good.
did, and she didn't love it. And I was like, I like
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm gonna tag her when this episode comes out, just so she knows.
it.
Suit was approved, and not everybody in the Dr. Bikini community is gonna be looking out for Kristen's suit.
Yes. Yes. No, everyone made really, really, really cool suits. And I actually have them all sitting still waiting to get cut out with all of the colors and sizes and everything. So you guys helped me out so much with that because I do get rhinestoner's block a lot. And I'm like, I've already made this suit, or that looks like this one. Because all my rentals, I do try to make them look different. I never want to have two suits that are the same in the show if I can help it. Because
Mhm.
everyone comes in here and says, I want to be unique and I want to wear something that no one else wants to wear. Well, that gets hard because there's only so many things, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah, absolutely. Which this came up too. I should have asked you earlier, but white suits. What are your thoughts on the white suits?
Ugh. I think white suits are beautiful. However, I did a white suit for my second show. First time, I mean, it just absolutely ruined. It was gorgeous. It looked good on stage. Actually, it looked silver on stage. I'm not sure why, but it was white. Um, if you have money to burn and you're like, I'm gonna do this white suit, I'm gonna do it, you're gonna get tan all over it. I don't know how you would prevent not getting tan everywhere because just think about it. You go and the inside of your arm touches the side of the fabric, the suit, the inside of your thighs are going to touch it. And when you go to wash it out, even though the tan is coming out of that suit, it's never going to be that white again,
Mhm.
ever.
Yeah. I think that's a pro tip to share just from like you said, preserving the investment you've made.
Yeah.
I do know people who have gotten white suits, and I've thought the same thing because I have ruined clothes or sheets my first year of competing that it's never completely the same shade as
Yeah. And I remember, and this was years ago, there was a pro, and I feel so bad, I don't remember her name. And she rocked a white suit and she did all the time. And I always thought, like, is she wearing the same one? And but they just don't last, even in how careful you can be, or if you try to put some kind of protection on them, like they're just not going to last.
yeah, bummer. I know they
Yeah.
can be pretty.
They are pretty. They're super pretty. But unless you just want to, light money on fire,
Yep.
then
What about, we talked about a little bit, the sponsored athletes. You have a sponsored athlete search coming up, I believe.
I do. I'm going to be starting that search after Christmas. So after the new year, I'm going to be putting that out there. I'm going to be looking for I a few extra more girls, I would say, bikini wellness and maybe one or two figure to add to the team. I already have a great group of girls who I'm so thankful for you guys. Like you make my life a lot easier.
Oh, you make ours easier. Are you kidding?
Thanks. I if I just like here, share this, make this happen.
Absolutely. Scream from the rooftops. Everyone needs to scream Bree Collection by Collins from the rooftops.
I would like that.
What does being a sponsored athlete entail for those who want to apply?
So there's going to be a list of requirements, same as when I do run it every year. I'm looking for not necessarily a seasoned competitor, but I want someone who has actually competed in the past, a really positive mindset, and presents themselves positively and passionately about the sport on social media, a strong social media presence. And someone who just generally like is a good person. I really love the girls on our team that just get along so well. Like I know a lot of you guys are really good friends and we had so much fun at the party. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like, oh, she's an influencer, so she's going to get picked. It's going to be like, who's going to be a good fit to not only promote the suits, but promote this sport and be a positive person in this community.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I remember you said to me, it's not about how many followers you have, it's just the values that you have in the brand and
Yeah.
what you're wanting in the community reflecting that. And
Yeah.
I agree. It's a great group of girls. We're all, supportive of each other. Everyone wishes each other good luck on show day. You're
Mhm.
always so sweet and up to date with who's competing when.
I try.
It's so impressive. All of us are like, how does she keep track?
I did miss Blanca's show. I didn't realize it was on a Friday, so I text her on Saturday. So I
The
missed it by
Friday
one.
ones, the Friday ones are so tough to keep up with. It's so easy to assume it's on a Saturday, and even
Yes.
there's nationals going on today, and I have
Mhm.
friends competing, and I didn't realize that it was today until I saw their show posts like show day is today, and I was like, oh,
Yep.
thank God I saw her Instagram. Oh my God.
Yeah, no, and I did that and she's like, "Oh, I competed yesterday." And I was like, "Oh, sorry."
You do your best though. You always, seriously, you have the best intentions. You are so supportive. And I feel like that's really one of the main reasons I want to make sure I had you on here is it's not just important to me to support women in business and local businesses, but genuinely good people who care about their clients and their products. And that's you.
And I do, I really do. And I like this wasn't a question or whatever, but I do get asked a lot like, are you going to try to grow your business even more? I'm like, yeah, I would love to grow my business more, but I don't want to be so out of touch with my clients. I want to still be here at the appointments. I want to make sure that I am hands on and it doesn't get lost in the wayside. Like, it's, I just still want to be a small business to where I'm able to be a part of everyone's fitness journey and not just handing it off to someone like, oh, this is, you know, red suit with red rhinestones. It needs to be this and just passing along. So,
I completely relate to that right now because I have my posing prehab.
mhm.
And for those who don't know if they're listening, I'm obviously a physical therapist. That's the title doctor in the podcast name. But as a physical therapist, it's my job to assess human movement and figure out what the problem is, whether that's pain or mobility or whichever. But as competitors, like we've been talking about this whole episode, we invest a lot of time and we want to look our best on stage. And a lot of that, like Bree said, is posing and angles
The
and
hardest thing to do in competing
yes.
is posing, and no one thinks that. It's the most important and it's the hardest.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, as a physical therapist, people assume, what stretches do I need? Give me the stretches. And a lot of times, what is preventing an optimal look on stage? It might be motor coordination, it might be a physical limitation, it might be pain. And as a PT, I help to provide the programming as well as with
Mhm.
my dance background, how to make it look more flowy. But
Yeah.
like you, I'm struggling because I want to make sure that I never lose touch with the group of people I have. And as much as I love posing prehab and I want it to expand as well. I mean, when I first released it, I had 10 girls in my DMs at the same time. And I kind of freaked out because I was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's a lot of people at once, even though I literally have 80 clients a week as a PT. I was like, how do I scale this business, but also not lose touch with the, intimate few that I have. So I understand what you're saying as far as you want to excel and help as many people as possible, but you also want to keep it to where it's a community. And that's a weird line to navigate.
It's a very weird line because it gets to the point where you're so busy that like, do you cut clients and tell them that you can't take them, but then, or do you like, where's the next step? So for me, I do have someone that helps me rhinestone, and she has helped me out a ton to where I can still be involved in everybody's suit. I do all of the custom suits still, rhinestoning all the custom suits. She helps me with rentals. But that definitely was my next step of having like a helping hand.
That's a good tip. That's good to know. Yeah, I remember you were talking her up and how quick she is. You're like,
Yeah.
she's an all-star. She's quick with rhinestoning. And I look up and I was like, people can be quick with this. Like,
It's so hard, and I will touch on this. I can't tell you how many people I have hired and fired as rhinestoners, or they have literally just like, look, this is too hard. I have to quit.
oh my gosh.
It's harder than you think.
Oh,
And I
I
even
believe
have
it.
competitors who are like, I tried to rhinestone my own suit. I don't know how you do this. And I'm like, it takes like a special breed of person. Like it's so tedious and it takes forever. Obviously, I'm a little bit quicker at it because I've been doing it for over 10 years. But it's still, Number one rule for me, never rhinestone tired, ever. Because your lines start moving, your stones get further apart, they're not even. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, that's ruined. So then you got to start over.
Oh, oh my gosh. Oh, what a nightmare that must be. And that's a really good rule of thumb.
Yes,
Don't do it
never
super tired.
rhinestone tired.
And don't DIY something that if it's meant to be a big investment like your suit, or
Mhm.
again, no offense, but like DIYing your posing routines, you know, just reach out, get some help. It's worth it. Get
It
make it
really
best.
is, and there are people out there that are good at rhinestone. I've had a couple clients that just order the blank suits for me and they rhinestone their own stuff and it looks amazing. But how many out of, that can
Right.
do it, that are going to make
Right.
it look good?
Yeah, just like there's always that one person that's like, "Oh yeah, I was self-coached, self-posing, made
Yeah.
my suit myself," and those are all stars and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, bow down to this person because that is not."
Yeah, right?
But also just don't add that extra stress to yourself while you're in prep. I mean, stress equals things like, water retention or,
Yep.
inflammation, um, not looking as full. Like it
Yeah.
can ruin your physique if you look
And
stressed.
that's why I really like to be involved with everyone's appointments, especially rentals. Like everyone's like, oh, when do I drop the suit off? I'm like, you don't worry about picking the suit up. You don't worry about dropping it off. I reach out to you a week before you come and get it. You come here, I size it to you. You have the option to come back and get it sized for peak week. Oh, and then I text you on show day. And then after your show, I remind you to wash it and bring it back. You don't like, you have enough to worry about with prep and all the stuff going on with that the last thing you need is someone like harping on you. Wash your suit, bring your suit back. Let's make an appointment. Like, don't worry about it. Like, you have your own problems?
No, can confirm you are very easygoing. You are very much there for support. You have never stressed anyone out that I know. It's always like, oh my gosh, Bree's the best. She goes above and beyond.
No, thank you. Sometimes they stress me out, but that's okay. I'm not the one competing. They are. So
Was there anything, is there any questions that you got that we left out or that we didn't chat about today?
I think that we pretty much chatted about everything.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Usually I would have asked you ahead of time, but I didn't, so you don't have to tell me, but I do like to ask people. Random question. What is something, and then we'll end it after this. What is something funny or embarrassing that has happened to Bree? Any stories that you have in the inventory?
Like in the suit.
Anything at all. It can be like I always have one locked and ready to go if
Okay,
you
I
need
actually do have
time.
one.
Well, let's hear it.
Okay, this
We
is one
all
of
do silly stuff, so I love to share it.
well, so I was really nervous to come on this podcast because I told you I don't like public speaking. I want questions before, like I'm just not good at it. I can talk people's ear off, but it's just like if it's public speaking, or like it just makes me really nervous. And the reason is when I was in college, I had to take a, public speaking class. Well, one day it was my turn to do my little speech on whatever it was, and I was wearing a low cut top.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. And I just kept feeling like people were looking at me really weird. And I just like started to get like uncomfortable and like a weird rash, but everyone was looking at me and I was like, you know what? I'm nervous. It's not going well. Well, it turns out that my nipple was out the entire time in front of my ASU class.
yeah. Oh, oh, I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh, what?
Oh, even thinking about it now is so embarrassing. It's the
I'm
worst.
so sorry.
And
Oh
like
my gosh.
I knew, like I didn't know it, but I knew it. And it's like, you know when your nipple's out, right? Like you're supposed to know, and I didn't. And everyone was looking at me, and I was like, it's okay, like you're just nervous, you hate public speaking. Yeah, no, my boob was out.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Wait, how long were you up there for?
I think it had to be like a 5 minute speech or something like that. It was like the final days of it. And then someone later on, like I was in class, was like, hey, like just a heads up, like your nipple was out. And I was like, oh,
Thanks.
good thing that they weren't recording it. So,
Oh my gosh.
but I
Oh,
did pass the class.
I
So,
was gonna say, did you get a good grade?
I think so. I remember. I know it wasn't for my speaking.
Oh my God. Hey, at least hindsight 2020, if you were talking about something that like was unrelated or maybe the content you were sharing was not good, maybe you distracted from.
I don't know what I did, but I just remember like, and I will always like remember that feeling. And I was thinking to myself, like, why is everybody staring at me so weird? And I'm like, oh,
Oh,
your boob was out.
it makes me think of the nightmares I've had where I've literally dreamt about getting on stage as a competitor and like forgot to put my bottoms on. I've had that nightmare before where it was like something feels weird.
No, that is funny. I could see like the top like maybe coming off, but like not wearing your bottoms, that's a new one.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's the nightmares I've had have been so weird. I've had the nightmare of forgetting to tan, but then having to go on stage anyway, or forgetting my shoes. So then I had to just walk on barefoot Barbie style, or my feet are just like my heels are elevating off of the floor, you know? I've had almost all the nightmares, but yeah, that's one. That was my more recent one was I just forgot the bottoms.
Yeah. But hey, at least we tan naked, so you wouldn't have a tan line.
That is true. That is
You
true.
know, silver
Um,
lining.
I always have an embarrassing story locked and ready to go. It's not nearly like nipple worthy like yours was, but I had a flashback the other day and I was like, I have to share this, otherwise I'll forget. So speaking of doing like dumb stuff, okay, I'm smart enough to where I went to school, I graduated, I work on people as a healthcare provider, but it doesn't mean that sometimes I don't do dumb things. Flashback to I was younger. I want to say I was 16. And recently Connor and I moved closer to the town that we grew up. So I drove past this bank that I had a memory of whenever I was 16. And all of a sudden it was just like a download. And I remembered one of the most mortifying things that has happened to me as I drove by this bank. Well, once upon a time, 16-year-old Shannon used to drive this little cute soccer mom car. And
Okay.
if you've ever met me in person, I'm a short person and I was a new driver. So I go through the bank ATM drive-through, right? And I parked a little bit too far away and I was like, oh, I'll just get out of my car. So I get out of the car and I'm navigating this little ATM thing and I go to turn around because my butt accidentally shut the car. I turn around and I locked myself out of the car.
No.
All the doors were locked. Phone was in there. Everything was in there. There's traffic behind me, and I have a running vehicle in the only lane of the bank ATM. Yep. Uh-huh. So I'm standing out there and I I had to like direct traffic around and the little bank teller
No.
outside like, is there a problem out here? I was like, yeah, can I use your phone? I had to like direct traffic. I have to call my parents to come like bring me the spare key. So I had to admit to the coworkers inside of the bank because they were like, how did you lock yourself out of your car in a drive-through? And I was like, I got out of the car because I parked too far and I couldn't reach. And so I was there for probably almost an hour, Bree,
Oh
having to
no.
direct traffic. And they're just like, who's this dumb blonde? At the time I was blonde that locked herself out of the car. And I drove by that bank the other day and I was like, huh, she
Yep.
became a doctor. Like,
There she is, ladies and gentlemen.
yep, yep. So big fan of sharing those things because, we deserve a good laugh. Life is too
Yep.
short.
No, it was definitely a laugh for a lot of people, but not me.
So sorry.
It's okay.
Like I said, I couldn't follow up the nipple, but like I appreciate you for sharing that though. That's a
Yeah.
good one.
Yep. No, it was. It was it will forever be like bored into my memory.
Oh, well, you did great today.
Thank
No,
you.
no
As long as you
re-shows
can't
were
see my
had.
nipple.
Yeah. Not that I'm recording this on like a video anyways, because I'm literally, again, for those who are new to tuning in, we just moved in and we have a house. We have a whole podcast room, but I swear, who would have thought that buying a rug and furniture would be so tough? I'm still working on de-echoing the space.
Hmm.
I'm literally in our bedroom right now. So maybe I'll post a video, maybe not. We'll see. But thank you so much for coming on and hanging with me today. I know I love talking with you today, and I know that everyone really appreciated the episode because I do not know of an episode out there where all this is talked about, like where to start, things to keep in mind when getting a suit. I never heard that episode when I was suit shopping.
Well, I hope that I did help someone or, shed light on some of the suit questions that people do have because you just don't know. Like there's so many things when it comes to quality and stones and fit and fabric and everything. You just don't. So
Yeah, I agree. And when in doubt, like just message Bree for those who are listening, even if they're not sure uh, where they're at or what they need, just ask. Bree is the most friendly, helpful person, and she's usually got the answers in my experience.
I think after this many years, yes, I do have the answers, and hopefully I can help you or steer you in the right direction. And I do love helping out like other people. Like I like supporting other suit makers, and I like supporting competitors, and like there's we can't no I cannot make suits for everybody. No one can make suits for everybody. So there's enough competitors and people to go around. Like we need to support each other in this community. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. For those who do want to find you, whether it's they've got questions or they want to look into how to become a sponsored athlete, how to apply after Christmas, where can they find you and your suits?
Instagram. So it's going to be at collections by Collins, and there's all underscores between those and at the end, but it should pop up, hopefully, if you put me in there.
I'll link it too in the episode notes, but
Perfect.
yeah, so they can find you, contact you through there, and if you don't already follow me on Instagram, you can either search Doctor in a Bikini or all of the shenanigans. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast, and if you enjoyed today's episode, I mean, we shared our embarrassing stories, give us a rate and review. Thank you again, Bree, so much for coming on today, and if we get more questions, maybe we'll do a part two, but otherwise, we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.